Hi, church. It's Bible study time. So I'm going to invite us to open our Bible, and we are going to go to the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon, depending on which translations you have. The name is sometimes different. That's because sometimes this book is accredited to about Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. So sometimes it's known as that. Otherwise, it's known as the Song of Songs because it is a love song. And songs like poetry, and it reads like poetry. So the last 2 weeks, have worked our way through it. It is not a long book. In fact, it will end with chapter 8. So next week we will do 7 and 8, and that will be the end of this book. We will have walked through it all together over just these 4 weeks of 2 chapters. The following week, so next week we'll finish up Song of Songs, but then the following week we're going to start in the book of Hebrews, and that is in your New Testament. So get that ready and start thinking of that switch, but we won't do that until 2 weeks from now. But as far as this is, we are in chapter 5 of the Song of Songs. So we have walked through, we've met some of the characters, and it is written more like a play. So you read it as if there are characters. There are headings like young woman, young man, and the daughters of Jerusalem, or the young women of Jerusalem. Those are your 3 sets of characters. And throughout almost every chapter kind of goes back between at least 1 or 2 characters, if not all 3 of them. So when we look at today, we've seen there's been this connection, this courting between the characters, this relationship blooming. And so now we find ourselves on chapter 5, where the relationship is about to be realized. At the end of chapter 4, the young woman is, in a sense, in a moment of marriage, or of the relationship coming together. She's welcomed the man into her heart, into her life, into her body, this whole completeness, where they're becoming equals, they're becoming one with each other. And so we start in with the young man's response to that part of their relationship. So we're going to jump into 5:1. I have entered my garden, my treasure, my bride. And so you see there's 3 things there. The first is I've entered my garden. The second is my treasure and my bride. And those are intentional. So garden is what she called her body. But it's also a metaphor. It's also literal, right? This notion of, if we take this as God has come into creation in this moment. God has come onto earth. As Christians, we take the bride to be the church, or people of faith. So when God came down into the garden, we have moments of garden that are so important to Christians. Think about what are the first ones that come to your mind. Most of you are probably going to say the empty tomb, right? That is a time of garden. So he has come into the garden. God has come into the garden. But gardens also are a place of life. They're a place of freshness. They're a place of hope. They're a place of newness and growth. So when he's saying garden, this could be both literal, as in her body, her garden, or this could be metaphorical, as he has come into an essence of new life in their relationship. Now, my treasure, this is a reminder that they say this is King Solomon, right? What is important to Solomon is wisdom. What else is important, though, to any king? And that is treasure, right? Gold and riches. And we're going to see that throughout this book, how he compares her to the most beautiful of diamonds, the greatest of pearls, worth more than gold. And so he's saying her love and her as a person is his true treasure. And isn't that a great way to think about people? That they're worth more than diamonds. They're worth more than gold. And to God, we definitely are. There's nothing more important to God than God's people. And so that treasure is, again, a very literal notion of, you are more important to me than the riches in the world. You are my treasure. You're my heart. And then that third one, my bride. The relationship that takes place in Song of Songs is a relationship between a man and a woman who are about to be married. And this is what we say, a lot of times this is used at weddings. It's a very typical relationship story, though, between a relationship that has had some longing and want and is being realized in the moment of marriage. So this is his bride. I have gathered myrrh with my spices, and myrrh is an incense, so it's smelling nice. And eat honeycomb with my honey. Isn't that a great thing to think about? He's eating honeycomb with his honey. He's eating with his love. I drink wine with my milk. So milk and honey, throughout the Old Testament, we hear these tones of milk and honey, that it's a land of promise, right? The Israelites are looking for their land of milk and honey, and in a relationship, you're looking for the one who becomes for you like the honey, the milk, the place where you feel empowered when you're with that person. Now, the changes from the young man to the young woman. Young women of Jerusalem, O lover and beloved, eat and drink. Yes, drink deeply of your love. So the women in Jerusalem are excited. We've seen them wondering where their love is, but here they're glad to see somebody happy. And this is how we should be to each other. When somebody has found joy in their life, when somebody has found hope or love, instead of begrudging them, we should have this notion of, yes, be happy, friends. I'm happy for you. So that's what the women are showing. Then we switch to the young woman. But something's happened in between these two verses. The young women of Jerusalem, we leave them with this happiness that this marriage, this relationship, this culmination has occurred. But now something has changed. On verse 5:2, it seems when the woman wakes up, that bride wakes up, something has happened differently. I slept, but my heart was awake. When I heard my lover knocking and calling, open to me, my treasure, my darling, my dove, my perfect one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with dampness of the night. So she is, she's remembering what happened to her. It was like a dream. I slept, but my heart was awake. He was like a dream to her. He came to her in the night. He told her to share himself with her. He loved her. He cared for her. There's kind of a newness to hear on verse 3, but I responded, I have taken off my robe. Should I get dressed again? I have washed my feet. Should I get them soiled? My lover tried to unlatch the door, and my heart thrilled within me. I jumped up to open the door for my love, and my hands dripped with perfume. My fingers dripped with lovely myrrh as I pulled back the bolt. I opened to my lover. So we think this is what the women were excited. The man thought everything was going to go well. The woman feels like she's dreaming awake. Her lover's finally come. This is why I don't always recommend this as a marriage passage, because what's going to happen next, right? So it seems like everything's going to be perfect and it's all roses and dreams. And verse 5:6. I opened to my lover, but he was gone. My heart sank. She goes to get the door. She thinks it's him. Everything seems right. But he's gone. I searched for him but could not find him anywhere. I called to him, but there was no reply. Now, if we think about Jesus in the garden, and if we look at it a new way, if we look at this as the story that God said, I have come to the garden. Here's Mary in this garden. I have looked for my Jesus. Where is he? I have looked for my Lord. Where is he? Or a little bit later in our Christian story, the disciples are glad to have Jesus back. He's come back from the dead. Everything is rosy and it's all great. And as those young women said, oh, yes, drink deeply of your love. Yes, take it in. Jesus has returned. Everything's good. And he's gone again. Isn't this how sometimes life is, though? We think something great and wonderful is happening, all good things, and we're so ready for this, but then sometimes things turn in life. A little bit of COVID-19 right here, right? People who thought they were getting married can't now. People who thought they were going to college are finding it much more difficult. People thought they were able to spend time with loved ones now have to rearrange their vacations, right? This is about thinking and planning and having hope, and then finding sometimes things change. And how do you live into that change? How do you work into that change? Well, there was no greater change for the disciples than having Jesus crucified, and then a second great change, he's resurrected, and then he leaves again and ascends. Right? So that's what you're feeling, that bride sense right now. On verse 5:7, the night watchmen found me as they made their rounds. They beat and bruised me. They stripped off my veil, those watchmen on the walls. So the watchmen in the Bible are those who see and hope and give. And so what she's saying is those who before showed her where her love was, now she feels like they're beating up on her because her loved one's gone and they're not answering for her and they're ripping off her veil. Think of that metaphor, stripped off my veil, right? To feel like she no longer is the bride, that her hope has tarnished. Have you ever felt like your hope has been stripped off you? That's what she's feeling. The bride is feeling in the Song of Songs on this verse. Song of Songs, verse 5-8. Make this promise, O women of Jerusalem. If you find my lover, tell him I am weak with love. Weak with love. That's what Mary's feeling in the garden. She's weak with love. She falls on her knees and says, where is my Lord? Where have they taken him? To have such love that it both opens you up and breaks you. It gives you strength and vulnerability. That's real love, when it can make you vulnerable, right? And she's saying that to the daughters of Jerusalem. Hey, other women, be prepared. I have now become vulnerable with love. So the women respond to her on verse 5-9. Young women of Jerusalem say, why is your lover better than all the others, O woman of rare beauty? What makes your lover so special that we must promise this? So they say to her, are you sure that was the right one to begin with? I mean, he left you on the night you were supposed to be married. Are you sure this guy, there's other options on the table. I remember when I was a hospital chaplain, we got a book for part of our training, and one of the lists was things not to say to somebody. And one of them is somebody who's just lost their loved one. Do not say to them, there are more fish in the sea. What a horrible thought that somebody would say that. But that's what these women are doing. They're like, oh, are you sure this guy's really worth your time looking for him? Are you sure this was the right person? Aren't there other options for you? Now, do you feel like sometimes people say this to you about God? Right? Do sometimes people say to you, are you sure you really want to be a Christian? Are you sure you really want to believe in God? Don't you want to come to the baseball game? Or don't you want to take a day shopping with me? Right? Is it really worth it? That's what the women are saying. And the young woman responds to them, my lover is dark and dazzling, better than 10,000 others. Have you ever said that about God? My God is better than all the other options on the table. His head is fine as gold, his wavy hair is black as raven. This is what was seen as beauty and handsomeness in that first century, right? So think of this. This is like, if I were to say today, I would be like, my God is as good looking as Brad Pitt or Matt Damon, right? That's what you're saying, right? She's saying this. And Solomon, if we take this again as like Solomon and Queen of Sheba, this is what we're assuming Solomon looked like. He had this hair as black as a raven. I mean, his hair is fine as gold and black. His hair is fine as gold, his wavy hair is black as raven. So it's like gold and black and stuff. It's beautiful. His eyes sparkle like doves beside springs of water. They are set like jewels washed in milk. Think about that, because the white of our eyes and their jewels washed in milk. His cheeks are like gardens of spices, giving off fragrance. His lips are like lilies perfumed with myrrh. His arms are like rounded bars of gold set with beryl. His body is like bright ivory glowing with lapis lazuli. His legs are like marble pillars set in sockets of finest gold. His posture is stately like the noble cedars of Lebanon. His mouth is sweetness itself. He is desirable in every way. Such a woman of Jerusalem is my lover, my friend. So the women had said, are you sure that this one is the one you want? So take that on all three levels, because we read three levels in Song of Solomon. We read the level that if this is a bride and her loved one, a relationship, or, somebody, love between a partner, is this person worth your time? Yes, she says, yes, this person is worth my time. Look at all these wonderful things I can say about them. They're beautiful and kind, and I love how she ends, they're my lover and my friend. And then you take that second level, this is Solomon, and this is Sheba, and it's like Sheba saying, yes, this man is worth it. This man is the king, but not just the king, he is grace personified, right? And then if we take this as Christians, that this is God and this is Jesus, yes, God and Jesus are worth our time. There is none like them. They are my treasure. And again, they are my lover, my friend. There's an intimacy here. And how often do we forget that intimacy with God? How often do we think that God is this distant thing, right? This Greek notion of God where Zeus is up there with the lightning and the storms. But Song of Songs is so powerful because it reminds us that God is something so much more. God is love. God is our friend. God is our heart, right? And God is so much more than just this abstract notion. God is part of our very existence. So that's chapter 5. Let's go to 6. The young women respond to her. The young women of Jerusalem say, where has your lover gone, O women of rare beauty? Which way did he turn so we can help you find him? Think of them like in Greek plays. And I've got my Shakespeare and Company shirt on here because this is a play, really, in a sense. So in Greek plays, you have the chorus. The young women of Jerusalem are the chorus saying, "Where has he gone? We'll help you look for him." And so what does the young woman say? The young woman says, "My lover has gone down to his garden, to his spice beds, to browse in the gardens and gather the lilies. I am my lover's, and my lover is mine. He browses among the lilies." This is a verse you hear sometimes taken out of Song of Songs. I am my lover's, and my lover is mine. And what she's saying is she actually knew where he was the whole time. Yes, she was looking for him, but she knew where would he be? He'd be in the place of growth and life. And if you look at Song of Songs, you're looking at nature, you're looking at stories about flora and fauna, you're looking at notions of creation. So where is my lover? He is with creation. He is with life. He's not with death. He's with hope and peace. It's kind of beautiful, isn't it, to think about that? If I were to say to you, and we've got some ladies on here today, thanks for watching today. If I were to say to you, where do you want to be? Do you want to be in a garden of hope and peace and love? Do you want to be there, or do you want to be in the dark, right? You want to be in the place of light and love and garden, right? Where you see newness coming forth and colors, and that's where God is, right? And that she knows that's where her lover is. He's browsing among the what? The lilies. And so as Christians, what do we hold important at Easter? The lilies, right? So throughout Song of Songs, you'll find things like doves and lilies, lots of symbols that we still use today. And so he's browsing among the lilies. Where is my Lord? He's in the garden. What do we use at Easter? Lilies. And you probably didn't know that connection, but here it is right here to you. It's one of the pieces of that connection, okay? And I love that. Think about so I know the word lover can be uncomfortable to people for God sometimes, but there is something to that because he is a lover. He loves you and he loves me. So if we told that, I am my Lord's, I am my lover's, I love my Lord, and my lover is mine, my Lord loves me. How do we know that? Because Easter. So the young man shows up in 6:4. You are beautiful, my darling, like the lovely city of Tezra. Yes, as beautiful as Jerusalem, as majestic as an army with billowing banners. Now this is such a guy thing, right? You're as pretty as that army over there. Turn your eyes away, for they overpower me. Your hair falls in waves like a flock of goats winding down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are as white as sheep that are freshly washed. Your smile is flawless, each tooth matched with its twin. Your cheeks are like rosy pomegranates behind your veil. So think about the woman a minute ago described her lover as these things like jewels and spices and flowers. And here he's using armies and livestock, right? But they're trying to say what is the best of the best, because that's what you are to your lover and that's what your lover is to you. That's what you are to God. You are the best of the best. And God is the best of the best to us. On 6:8, even among 60 queens and 80 concubines and countless young women. So remember, if this is Solomon, he had lots of women, but Sheba's the one above all the rest. I would still choose my dove, my perfect one, the favorite of her mother, dearly loved by the one who bore her. The young women see her and praise her. Even queens and royal concubines sing her praises. So he chose her above all the rest of his women. I know, that makes it a little strange, this reading, but that's how it is. Verse 6:10. Who is this arising like the dawn, as fair as the moon, as bright as the sun, as majestic as an army with billowing banners? I think that's really one of the more beautiful lines out of this. There's so many beautiful lines if you take it, but who is this arising like the dawn, as fair as the moon, as bright as the sun? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that inspired Shakespeare to write some of his Romeo and Juliet stuff. You can't tell me Song of Songs is not in there. It's definitely in there, right? When Romeo is looking up at Juliet, he's comparing her to the moon and to nature and into a rose, right? That's right out of this. It's pulling right out. Here is a lover speaking to his loved one, saying that she is something like this. So if we read it like a play, right? If we read it like it can be into a play, you do have this. Who is this? Arising like the dawn, as fair as the moon, as bright as the sun. Right? Think about that. It's beautiful. So the young woman replies to her young man. On verse 6:11. I went down to the grove of walnut trees, and out to the valley to see the new spring growth, to see whether the grapevines had budded or the pomegranates were in bloom. Before I realized it, my strong desires had taken me to the chariot of a nobleman. So what does she do? When she's looking for her loved one, what does she look for? She looks for signs of what? Spring. She's looking for spring, to see whether the grapevines had bloomed, to see if the pomegranates were out. She's looking for newness because she knows that's where he is. And don't we all do this? I know I am the one out there searching through the snow to find those crocuses as they come up and being a reminder of God coming back, right? That's what's happening here. She says, I know my loved one's somewhere in the garden. I'm going to go see what's growing. The young women of Jerusalem say, Return, return to us, O maid of Shalom. Come back, that we may see you again. The young man says, Why do you stare at this young woman of Shalom as she moves so gracefully between two lines of dancers? All right. So that is our reading for today. That was Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, chapters 5 and 6. And we're hearing a story of, it's a love song. It's the Bible's greatest love song, unless you take Easter. Well, and read this as Easter, and that could be a love song too. But the actual book that is a love song is Song of Songs. And it really is meant to be read from the perspective of so many different pieces of this relationship, so many different people in the relationship, reminding us that we are not alone, that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. And so taking that away, taking it that you are your beloved's and your beloved is yours. And so you are beloved. Remember that this week, that God loves you and you love God. All right, friends, have a great time. And say that next week we'll finish the Song of Songs together. And I hope you have been inspired by these words. All right, bye.